Welcome to The Payoff, the podcast where small business owners who have zero clue what they're doing come for thought-provoking stories of how hard work, sweat equity, and dumb luck created wins for successful business leaders who learned how a little investment, access to secrets no one shares, and a Texas-sized hell yeah, bring it on, paid off. I'm your host, Cynthia Nevels, the CEO of Integrality and a senior business advisor for the Goldman Sachs 1 Million Black Women program. Every week, my team of experts and I will dive deep into the toughest challenges facing entrepreneurs and provide you with the actionable insights and answers to secrets you've always wanted to know that can help your business not only survive, but thrive. Welcome to The Payoff. Thank you so much for joining us on this episode. I have a very special guest with me today. I have Isoke Harris, CEO of Peak Performance, on the episode with me today. She's going to give us some inside secrets on what she was able to do to build her Pizza Hut franchise empire and all of the skills, expertise, and learning lessons that she endured to build her businesses. So thank you so much. It's okay for being with me today on The Payoff.
Thank you so much, Cynthia. It's an honor.
It's an honor to have you. All right, so let's get to it. So let's talk about making money. You have been operating successful businesses for some time now. It's okay. And you're still in it and you still love it? Tell me, why are we doing this crazy business work?
This crazy business work that everyone thinks is so shiny and easy and fun, right? As an entrepreneur.
Yes.
Well, for me, I think everyone finds a motive to go into it at some point. And my motive was my daughter. I became a mother. And just honestly, I knew that the marriage was not going to work. It was not going to last. And so I knew that I needed to be able to parent, as close as full time as possible. And I also knew that I was going to need more money. And so at the time I was an assistant principal. And I actually started, and this is very important because oftentimes people think they only have to do entrepreneurship. And oftentimes you need to work your job and start your business at the same time. And sometimes I'm not sure why people think there's a problem with that, but there is not. So I was working as an assistant principal, and my first business that I don't talk about often was a neighborhood convenience store. Oh. And a young lady that went to graduate school with, we partnered and we started up a neighborhood business store because why? We needed money. And she took her money and invested in real estate. I took my money and got myself out of that job. And we both were working full time. We both It was very funny stories because we both live in Atlanta, and we put the neighborhood convenience store in a place we wouldn't even drive in. You know what I mean? Like, we wouldn't want to be there, but there was money there. It was there. It was a desert, in regards to food and access to convenience stores and stuff. And so we knew that it will be a moneymaker. And so we did that and just made sure it was out of there before dark.
So there were variables that you understood, however, that allowed you to make a decision or empowered you to make a decision on how and why this business would work. And so that was your first entree into this space of figuring it out.
Right.
Along with your co-partner, co-founder in that business, did you have to figure it out? And did you bump your head along the way as you learned how to build and create a business?
Oh, absolutely. Because this business was kind of like our little side hustle. Like I said, we were working.
Yeah.
It was like our first introduction into business. And we literally sat in her living room, and we literally pulled up and got our EIN. And we literally sat there and we literally thought of the name. It was so cute now that I look back on it. Mm-hmm. But we launched it without a lot of errors in it. And let me tell you why. we found a copycat. All we did, oftentimes people think, back when we were younger, it's like, oh, don't be a copycat, don't be a copycat. In business, it's very important that you can be a copycat, and it's okay to be a copycat. You just need to make sure that you're copying the right cat. And so I tell everybody, be a copycat. There's nothing wrong with being a master of repeatology, which is what franchise is.
That's
right. So even in that particular business, we were copycats. We knew someone that was actually doing what we wanted to do, and we mimicked to the core, and so it cut a lot of learning out for us, a lot of resets for us, because we were able to find the right copycat, or the right cat to copy for us to become copycats.
I love that, because that is really solid advice for people who they have to start from ground zero and figure it all out on their own. I can't tell you how many business owners I have served over 23 years who have tried to figure it out without having a toolkit to understand the fundamental technical aspects of managing an operation. And what we realize is that you don't know what you don't know.
Right.
And so you make a lot of mistakes that cost thousands and thousands of dollars. You lose a lot of time. You may lose your assets.
Yes. And so even now, with my next venture, the phase that I am in now, Cynthia, is a very important phase. It's a silent phase that people don't know that's happening. But I'm basically going around collecting my cats. I'm going around and I'm literally collecting cats. And because I will not go into a franchise without having proper cats around me that specialize in different areas and have shown success in different areas of that particular business. And so I'm establishing those relationships and making it very clear to them that I want to copy you.
I love that, and not being afraid to say.
No, it's no secret. I need you to mentor me. I need to copy you when I call you. I need an answer. I don't need to learn by making mistakes. I need to learn what you did after you made all these mistakes. So I'm establishing those relationships and, making sure they like me enough to where they want to work. They will help me, and so that's a very important step when you're going into a franchise, especially. But I think even when you're starting a startup on your own, I think it's probably even more important for you to go and find someone that you can copy.
That's very true. And so knowing you like I do, because we have a little bit of work history together, I can see you going into the relationship and being very frank.
Very frank. Very frank. I want to do this. You are successful at it. I would like to be successful at it also. And I want to cut my learning curves in half. Will you help me?
Will you help me? Will you help me? Put that
and a key is, and what can I do to help you?
I want to applaud that statement. That's something that I find is often missing with entrepreneurs who are, I won't use the word aggressive. I'm going to use the word determined. And they know that they need something. They know something is missing. Right. And they have this go-getter attitude that they are going to go and find it, seek it, so that they can elevate. But they sometimes forget that piece to give back and reciprocate. And that's a very valuable lesson. It seems like there are certain generations who understand that cycle and how relationships work. And then there are others who do not. So that's another gem that you're dropping, is don't forget to reciprocate.
Don't forget to reciprocate. And it could be people that are busy and people that are successful. They may need money. You don't know. And if that's probably not something that you have to give, being a aspiring, franchisee. But time, going in and saying, hey, I want to volunteer as your employee, as your worker, as your employee, as one of your team members, because you're learning, but yet you're getting free labor from me. And so being able to do that. So giving time, giving money, or
Yeah.
giving some type of resource that they do not have, giving access to something, you need to exchange.
Mm-hmm.
It's a quid pro quo when someone is assisting you. And that's just the courtesy of business to me.
I agree with you on that. And so let's talk about how you took that learning experience with the convenience store and then you, I'm assuming, leveraged it and used what you've learned to venture into a new space, and that is investing in franchises.
Yes. Yes. So my first franchise was a Kumon after school learning center.
I'm familiar.
It was a great transition for me because I was an assistant principal. I was an educator. I used to be a high school science teacher.
Mm-hmm.
I went into administration, and then I had my daughter, and I was going to climb that, that education route, the superintendent, and all that, and it was like, wait, I'm a mom. I got a different vision now. So Kumon, which is still in the education field, was my first franchise.
Got it.
And it focused on maximizing children's math and reading potential, maximize them. And so I loved doing that. That was very much so a passion.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes you do franchises. This is very important. Sometimes you do business for passion, and sometimes you do business. Well, always you do business for profits. It's a luxury if you're able to have a passion to it. And so that was a luxury that I, had with Kumon. I was able to make profits and actually share my passion.
You dropped another gem for us. It's okay. It's okay to start a business for passion, but we also have to be focused on profits.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. I tell oftentimes my business mentees and scholars that when I see that a business is closed to African Americans or Blacks or a specific race, I think that's great until it starts interfering with your profits.
Yeah.
And it's like you focus on that genre, you focus on that specific variable for passion, but you probably need to expand for profits. And
Okay.
so you have to determine when that takes place. And so then I took I was in Kumon, and this is about doing your job well. This is about people are watching you, even when you don't know that people are watching you. So it's a Kumon instructor, and one of my Kumon parents was in another franchise, another restaurant franchise, and they needed assistance with taking down to acquire Pizza Huts. And we have different skills. We bring different skills to the table. Mm-hmm. And so if you're doing a franchise, you're going to meet with the owner of those, of the brand. They have to approve you. They have to approve your knowledge. They have to approve your business skill. They have to approve you financially. They have to approve you. And so there are pieces they're looking for. Mm-hmm. And they want to make sure that if you don't have those pieces, that you have a team that has those pieces. And so we complemented each other so well. Wow. In regards to making the complete team to where any franchise would see it as like a powerhouse.
Got it.
So yes. So we went into the Pizza Huts and we were able to purchase a market. I think it was like 23 Pizza Huts in the beginning. And we had to build two, which is another thing to talk about, is your expansion agreement in franchises. You don't just buy franchises. Oftentimes you have to have an expansion agreement with them. And let me tell you, you can be aggressive. You can be aggressive because they want their stores built. They want more stores. And you are there to replicate their stores and duplicate their stores and for their name. Okay. And you sign the franchise agreement, there is likely an expansion territory agreement a part of it. And that is very key to look at and make sure that based upon your projected profits, you're going to be able to really do those expansions, because ideally you want that money and those funds coming from the current business in order to do so.
This is so really paramount for entrepreneurs to understand who are considering franchise. We just we just embarked upon a relationship with the UPS Foundation and UPS Store where we are teaching new entrepreneurs or veteran franchise owners how to select, vet, and invest in book franchises.
Okay.
And so when we went into this space, this was all new to me. And the things that we started to learn about how franchises work and how what you mentioned that franchisors vet you too. They're
Oh,
not going to let you in to their space and copycat what they're doing if they don't feel that you're ready and prepared to take on that type of responsibility and
right.
risk. And so it was very interesting to see all of the factors that go into them vetting you and you vetting them to make sure it's a good fit, right?
Yes. It is to make sure that it is a good fit. And Cynthia, it is very important that you always, as the franchisee or the potential franchisee or aspiring franchisee, that you maintain your posture and that you maintain your posture of making sure that whatever market is offered to you, because the way it works in franchising, it's not like, oh, I live in Atlanta, I want to open up Pizza Huts in Atlanta. It's not like that. It's about whatever market is available, whether it was a current sale or a current acquisition that the brand acquired back from a franchisee, or whether or not it's just some company stores that they are ready to sell. It's about availability. And it doesn't matter where you live. You might have to relocate if you can't get a team on that ground to run those stores. And so my stores were in Louisiana, all of them. And I live in Atlanta. And so people are always like, oh, they just assume the Pizza Huts in Atlanta or mine. No, all of my stores were in Louisiana. And so it's very important that you maintain the posture of making sure that it is a good fit for you. Everybody's the prize. The franchisor and the franchisee both have to act like they are the prize, because you need to know what type markets are compatible for you as a leader.
Excellent points that you are making, and also insight, because someone who's new to this may assume because I live in a particular area or region that I can just buy in that region, and that is not the case. Is what
that is not the case at all. Typically, you may not, and I'll go deeper and put some color on that. Mm-hmm. There was a franchise I was looking at. Mm-hmm. And, went through the interviewing process, went through the vetting process. It's typically like at dinner, and, they want you to be relaxed so they can really, just pick your brain. Mm-hmm. Or usually double is in a setting, and then they're going to take you to dinner, and it's going to be, And so got past all that, got past the vetting part and approval. And now it's time for them to offer me a market. Well, the market that they offered me, there's no absolute way that a little Black girl should go in it. You know what I mean? It should not. Mm-hmm. And so you have to know this, because no one else is going to look out for you and say, this might not be a good fit for you, because they're not thinking culturally. They're not thinking, they're thinking this is a financial packet that fits your money and you have the abilities to run these stores.
Got it.
You need to think about culturally, will this be a good fit? From my leadership style, what is needed in this market, will it be a good fit? Is this a low-hanging fruit, meaning it just needs some tweaks that I can go in and fix it? Or will this be a total takeover that I'm going to have to flip? Yeah. And you have to see, does your lifestyle match to that? Does your culture, does you as a Black woman match up to that? You know what I mean? Or are they going to work for you? And so, no, it's real. It's very much so real in America. And I want to keep it, as transparent as possible. You don't just take anything that someone gives you. It's a marriage. It is a marriage. And so would you just go and marry someone just because they said, would you marry? Now you can, you're eligible to be married. Would you, will you marry me? Is it an automatic yes? No, it's not an automatic yes.
No.
So therefore, it's not an automatic yes to those markets either. So I said no on that one. And I explained to them, because I felt like the conversation, as you said, I'm pretty candid. Mm-hmm. But I felt like that there could be some growth for them in the conversation of why I must say no to this market, and why I need them to think in the future, not just as, my money, the money matches. No, do I match, and be more culturally sensitive.
Mhm.
And while you are majority of them are white males, while that may be the case, I need you to, whatever way, to figure out how you can put yourself in my shoes and say, would this be a good fit? You knowing more than what I know about that market, would it be a good fit? And if they don't, it doesn't matter. It's your responsibility to do that for yourself.
Excellent points. Thank you for sharing that so that folks can understand what they are able to accept and also reject when they are in the process of um, looking for and identifying and going through that process to invest in a franchise. Because once you're married, you're in it.
You're in it.
Yeah. And so one of the things that I wonder is that did you learn how to ensure that you step up and identify that there are other cultural factors that need to go into play in your decision making from your convenience store in Atlanta? Was that something that you learned, or was it over time that you learned I need to consider other factors than just money?
Um, I am very aware of being a Black woman in America.
Mhm.
So I just know that. I
Mhm.
know that anywhere I go, anything I do, any relationship, I need to consider, um, possibly, especially when you're talking about millions of dollars, I want to consider every variable that I know about myself and every variable that I know about that company.
Yeah.
And so I think that just living in America makes you sensitive to those variables.
Mhm.
And it's said, and it needs to be said. It's real.
Mhm.
I'm being transparent. And so I know what markets will fit better for my leadership style.
Mhm.
I know what markets will work for me once they find out who their owner is.
Yeah.
And so, I just kind of know this from watching people. I am a people watcher, and I know.
Attention small business owners. Is your website outdated, or is your marketing falling short, costing you valuable customers? At Mad Mind Studios, we specialize in creating custom websites and marketing strategies that drive results. Right now, we're offering a free consultation and marketing audit to help you get on track. Don't miss out on this opportunity to elevate your business. Visit madmindstudios.com or call us today at 310-402-1613 to schedule your free consultation. Mad Mind Studios, where your growth is our business.
So let's talk about the expansion plan. And then 23, if I understood correctly, Pizza Huts. Like, to me, I had 3 restaurants and I had a food truck and I had a catering company, and I couldn't sleep at night. That was enough for me. 23?
Yeah. So it started with 23, and then we built 2, and then we went back and purchased the 17. Now, when you're talking about expansion, sometimes it can be required. So that's just an expansion agreement. And that's just mandated, and you need to find the money. When they say their stores need to be built on this date and by this date and by this date, it's pretty non-negotiable. They want those stores built, and so they don't care. You should not have been taking as much money as you've been taking out of that business. You should have been mindful of what's going to be needed down the road, and so you have to plan for that or go find the money.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? And so we built 2, and then the other, so that's a required expansion.
Okay.
And then what you don't want to do is what I would call rescue expansion. And this is just my little term, Cynthia.
Okay.
So I call it like, I want you to resist rescue scaling, okay, or expanding.
Mhm.
And the reason why I call that is I say it's where you have the mentality, where you have the situation where I have to grow or I will die.
Mm.
I look at oftentimes when you see different brands acquire other brands, I look at from an inside scoop of like, I wonder if they needed that brand or if they just are expanding their portfolio for profits or did they need that brand to cover this brand? And so in my situation, my first purchase needed a big brother. They needed a big sister. They needed a big sibling to come in and guide them, and where they could the new market could be the primary. And that came from observing a market, and thinking or making adjustments or making considerations that there's low-hanging fruit, and that fruit is a little bit higher than what you thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
Meaning acquiring a market that needed some work, and you thought it was not going to be as much work because you can see the plan, you can see the errors, you can see the mistakes. And so, okay, I can go in and fix that. You go in and it's not fixing as easily as you thought it was going to be fixing.
Got it.
And therefore now it is affecting your profits.
Yes.
And so we need a big sibling to come in and help out this market until we can get this market under control.
That's excellent advice, because I was talking to a franchise owner who owns multiple franchise units, and her strategy is buy low and fix those markets and then be able to generate profit off of the loss that the former owners were experiencing. But that's only because she now has the recipe for success.
Exactly.
So the people in place, she has the systems in place, she has her data, she has her research, she knows what she's doing, and she's able to bring that machine to the table to pick those units up and get them where they need to be. And that's her strategy.
Yes. So scaling needs to happen before you need it, basically. Don't do rescue scaling, because when you have to do it, you have to do it. You know what I mean? And so, okay. But yes, so you want to be able to grow your services, grow your customers, grow your sales. You want to be able to do that without affecting negatively your customer service. Yes. and your quality. In order to do that, you need your infrastructure in place, and you need to have figured out the tweaks of the first. You know what I mean? And when you thought you was going to tie, you thought you tied that bow, and then you turn back around, the bow is loose again, and then you tie it again, it is loose again. It's like, oh my God, and so it's a process. But yeah, in order to increase, you need to make sure that you have figured out that formula, and and staff is key. Having the right leadership team in place is key. Having those relationships with your leadership team is key, in making sure they all understand the value proposition of the company and the mission of the company. And everybody needs to be on the same page. But those people really are before profits.
Wow.
People before profits. If your people are not in place, and you don't have processes in place, it's people, processes, and then you're going to see your profits.
I love that. That's another gem that you've dropped.
This, and then you're going to see your profits.
So I hope everyone is writing this down, because this is critical for folks to understand, because what I often have heard over the 23 years in business is that the first thing an entrepreneur will say is, I can't afford to hire the people that I need right now. So what essentially you're saying is, either you won't hire, you don't hire, or you hire underneath the talent scale that you really need. And then what happens is your business is limping along and you're wondering why.
Right. And so to address that, it is very important, even in a franchise. So this is something also, Cynthia, I think that people have a misunderstanding of franchises. Okay. They think that oftentimes people assume, like, okay, you come in and everything's set up for you. Okay. No, you are still responsible for your own accounting team. You are still responsible for your hiring processes. You are responsible for your handbook. You are responsible for so many things, because that is your company with their brand. And there is a difference. And they are very specific with what they will interfere with legally and what they will not interfere with legally. Why? They don't want to be tied to the accountability of your success or not success. Okay.
That makes sense.
Yes. And so it's like, it's gonna a very thin line on what kind of guidance they're gonna give you. Guidance and support are different things in franchising. Of course you're going to get support. You're paying royalties for that support. But as far as like guidance and advice and things of that, now we're getting into legal, where they're saying this will work. Well, it didn't work. Now you're responsible for my, success or failure. And so there's a very thin line with that.
Thank you for pointing that out, because one of the things we talked about in the franchise boot camp was what is the responsibility of the franchisor and what can you expect when it comes to franchisee support services? Because you often will hear about franchisees who will sue a franchisor because they are failing.
Mhm.
And you may find that that franchisee never read the fine print to understand what support they were going to provide, how to utilize that support, and what they weren't going to do and what you're responsible for. And if you don't have the talent, skills, or expertise or experience to ensure you can navigate what they don't provide, that's when you run into trouble.
Absolutely. Absolutely, because you need to understand that that's not their business. It is your business. And so they basically partnered with you because they didn't want to do it. You know what I mean? They partnered with you to actually take care of that brand and those selective stores for them.
Mhm.
And so, yes, read the fine print. Make sure you understand what comes with your royalties, what comes and what other fees, additional fees. Oftentimes there's an additional fees. And so your royalties might be 1%. And then there's additional fees that come down the pipe that you need to understand are still your responsibility. And so technically, when you start adding that up, your royalty fees might be higher than the advertised fee.
So I'm so super excited and proud of you as an African American woman or a Black woman in the United States who grew this empire through franchising and navigated your way through that entire process and grew into multiple units. But you don't see a lot of us in the franchise industry at all. And sometimes the first thing that we think is it's because of capital. I sometimes disagree with that. I think there may be other factors that prevent us from copycatting and using the playbook that franchises offer to potential owners.
Right. Yes, I think now I don't want to get fact checked, but I think that at the time, because my business partner she's also was a African American female. And so at the time, we were definitely the largest franchisee in Louisiana. And I think we were the only Black females in Pizza Hut. If we were not, I don't know where the other ones were, So and possibly I will even go as far as to say in the history, like we looked, we couldn't find, you know what I mean? So we really think it's not there, but I don't know the fact check, you know what I mean? It could be there, but we just didn't take the time to really dig into that. But yes, we are not present a lot in that market. And oftentimes when we are, they're Black men.
Mhm.
And so it is a male dominant industry.
Mhm.
And it is definitely white male. And then it comes Black males. And then of course you have your Black females. And so, that's just a fact. And I think that in regards to capital is a factor, but it's only when you don't understand what they mean by capital. Yes, you have to have funding, but oftentimes when they say you need to have this number of assets and stuff, your house, your car, your jewelry. Some of us are walking around with $30,000 worth of jewelry on. Yeah. If you start counting up those Cartier bracelets and those Rolex, you know what I mean? You put that stuff together. Those things are assets because they hold value. Mm-hmm. And so sometimes we don't know how to find pennies to add up our assets because they are assets. They are. And so they can be insured. Anything that can be insured is an asset. And so, I mean, really, anything that the insurance company finds insurable, then it is an asset. And so oftentimes we don't think of assets, or we may be scared to take the risk of, oh, I'm literally putting my house on the line.
Yes.
Well, the reality is, whether you franchise or not, you're still putting your house on the line, because anything you do, you are personally guaranteeing. Even when you're doing that franchise and it's in your business name, you are personally guaranteeing it. And yes, your house is on the line. Your house is on the line. And so, but it's about risk taking, right?
Yes.
It's about calculating that risk and making sure that the numbers are right, and making sure you have a backup plan, and making sure that you have formed those relationships with lenders.
Yes.
Is key. Regardless of what someone says, yes, numbers, men lie, women lie, numbers don't lie. So the numbers have to be there, but people still have to like you, Cynthia.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? People do business with people they like. People give money to people they like because they're like, oh, she's going to make it happen. You know what I mean? And versus, oh, she never smiles. It's people do business with people that are likable.
Yes.
And so you can find that capital. Oftentimes the franchisees, they have people, the franchisors, they have people that can research and be like, okay, Wells Fargo is banking this brand. And so, or you can tell which bank likes that particular brand, and they know the brand, they're familiar with the brand. And so it's going to be easier because they understand that brand in that package.
I love all of this. It's okay. You have dropped so many gems on this episode today. I am so grateful that you took the time out to talk to us about your journey and the process that it took to build the empires that you've built, and some of the things that we need to be aware of that sometimes we just don't know. And that is very helpful. So I am so proud of you. I'm happy for you. I wish you all the success in your future endeavors. And thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you so much for having me, Cynthia. Again, it is my pleasure. I want to assist whomever in this world. I believe in giving because it's just, a good principle to abide by. So I give to you, and I thank you for all that you do for our groups that we learn together with our colleagues.
Thank you for tuning in to The Payoff. Now you know what to do. Go ahead and hit the like or subscribe button, or leave us a review and let us know your thoughts on the latest discussion. We have more secrets to share, so stay tuned for another episode. We'll keep sharing how business leaders turn challenges into opportunities week after week.